I recollect that, when we were on campus, we were actually taught the pricing formula of CCI, and that pretty soon became redundant and companies could do, IPOs at any price whatsoever. It was also a bit of a free for all because arguably many companies with, hardly any credentials, and the credentials were not really being vetted as strongly and as definitively as they are today, were able to access the IPO market in those early days. So it was sort of a cowboy market at that point of time. And, therefore, everybody, was sort of going more by the seat of their pants rather than very deep-rooted analysis. And you would be very familiar, Kaizad, during that period, so many shell companies, not shell companies, but so many companies came out and did IPOs. And remember, this whole breed of companies, later on, we refer to them as vanishing companies, right? Because they all sort of vanished off the face of the earth. And people just, took that IPO money and ran with it. So really the focus just in that context was more the stock market rather than mutual fund. Of course, given that I work in UTI today, I'm aware that in 1992, UTI launched the Mastergain 92, raised about 4,000 crores in the NFO at that point of time. But really the discussion was more about individual stocks. And I think that was because of the halo around the stock market, tarnished slightly due to the Harshad episode, but still people really flocked more towards direct stocks than they did towards mutual funds. So mutual funds, I would say, were not really center stage in 1992 when I started. And I would say really it was only post maybe 97 or 98 that mutual funds started to get discussed a lot more. Most of my early discussions with anybody, with colleagues, with peers, were all to do with individual stocks and investing in them, not because of my interest, which was certainly there, but it was just the nature of the beast. People talked more about stocks than they did about mutual funds. I was working with, Kotak Mahindra. This is even before it became a bank in 1993. And I was based in Bangalore for, about a year with the group. And when I was there, you had the first, what's the right way to call it? The first foreign mutual fund launch a scheme, right? And they said that they would limit their collection to, I don't remember the number, it was 300 crores or 400 crores or some such number. So believe it or not, there was a premium to even get the form for investing in the new fund offer. I think it was Morgan Stanley Mutual Fund. So there was a premium on even getting the form because people said, no, they'll only give you 300 crores of allotment. So I need to get the allotment. And I recollect I had a colleague in the Bangalore office who came from a small town in Tamil Nadu. And he was going home for the weekend. And then he comes up to me and says, sir, can you please give me 20 forms? Because, in my village, people are desperate to be able to get it. In the village, they are charging 50 rupees if anybody wants to invest to first, buy the form from the local distributors. So you had to pay the distributor 50 rupees and only then he would give you the form to apply in Morgan Stanley Mutual Fund. So yeah, I mean, those were the heydays. Nobody really knew what it was about. And the belief was that when the mutual fund opened, of course, at that time, allotment didn't happen in a week. It took maybe 2 months or 3 months. The belief was that it would open at a value much higher than, it was a NFO, so it was at 10 rupees because the portfolio had already been accumulated in advance. Honestly, the rules didn't allow any such thing even at that point of time. But, these were the stories that were doing the rounds that, the portfolio is already built, the market is going up. So better you, give your money because the minute it opens, it will open at a massive premium because the market is going to move up. As an investment organization, one of the things that I've realized after coming here is that I think the main reason why the organization has managed to survive is essentially the fact that the organization always had research as a very integral pillar of what it does going back all the way, 20, 30 years. So, some of my colleagues have been in the research function or started out in the research function at UTI, going back all the way to 1993 and 94 when, research was something that was barely, talked about on the street. I mean, it was a very simplistic form of research. But I think this organization invested in people, processes, and systems for research in a very early period. It's gone through its own challenges, but I think that is the one thing which has really helped the organization to distinguish itself and ensure that, even in this changed environment, we are a competitive organization with good people, good processes, and of course today we are an independently listed company as well. So I think these are the two things, the willingness to bring in best in place practices, best people from wherever you get the best talent, and at the heart being an investment organization and that research process. That's what has helped us stay relevant.